Hey guys, this is Mr. Recaps. In this video, I'm going to explain a movie called Sleepless Beauty, released in the year 2020. I'm warning you for spoilers. Stay tuned. The story begins with an ambassador attending a press conference. A gunshot is heard unexpectedly. There's also a screen with a message in a foreign language and various camera recordings. A girl is seen in her car at a gas station in one of the recordings. After filling up her car, she travels to a location where she was spotted photographing fish in an aquarium. She wanted a specific fish from the aquarium and asked the owner if she could get that fish. She returns to what appears to be an apartment complex after picking up the fish and meets a young guy on her way to her room. She is preparing a small fish bowl in her apartment. In her background, there is news about the ambassador, who is now fine after the attack and is ready to get back to his office. She was checking on her bowl of fish when someone, out of nowhere, put a plastic bag on her head. A screen appears where someone is signing in to tag of her chat. There are a lot of other folks signing in. The lady was spotted unconscious on the floor after a few minutes and started attempting to open her eyes. There is only a single chair, a bucket, and a few pipes on the wall in the room. She began banging on the door and screaming for help. She is being recorded by a camera mounted on one of the walls. Different people comment on their own points of view in the chat box that appeared on the screen. It seems so many people are watching her live. The lady rushed up to the camera and asked whether anyone could hear her. Suddenly, she heard a woman's voice over a loudspeaker welcoming her to recreation. The woman informed the girl of the most important rule of recreation, which is that sleeping is not permitted and that all of her attempts to sleep would be disrupted. The woman also informed her of her everyday routine. The lady returns to the door when she hears a child's voice over the speaker. The child on the other end of the line calls her Mummy. The kid asked if she recognized her and was told by the kid that she had murdered her. The kid also took her name, Mila. The child went on to ask what she would be called, a mummy, Mila, or a whore. The lady asked the kid to please stop. The kid asked Mila to find her so that she could get out. Mila went near the bucket, she opened it and quickly ran away. The voice instantly stopped. Mila returns to the bucket and finds that it is filled with human flesh. She puts her hand inside and grabs a doll, which she quickly throws away. The doll was seen laying on the floor. Suddenly, someone opened the door. He has a complete face mask on and an electric taser in his hand. Mila attempted to flee by hiding in a corner, but the man dragged her from her hideout. The man asked her to sit on the chair and he gave her an electric shock. She became unconscious. A virtual reality time announcement is made on the speaker at the same time. When she regained consciousness, the man was tying her up. The man was spotted with a backpack on his shoulder from which he drew virtual reality goggles and placed them on her head. The man then closed the lid on the open bucket and removed it. She was told to keep her eyes open by a speaker announcement. Mila is led into a new room by the masked man. This room appears to be cold. The chat on one side of the screen is continuously going on. Mila is asked to assist 5 people who are in desperate need of organ transplantation, according to a message on the speaker. She is asked by the woman on the speaker to kill her father and spread his organs among them in order to rescue them. She informed the woman that she would not respond to her. The same man reappears and begins to give her a powerful shower in order for her to say yes to them. Mila stated that she did not wish to murder anyone. The man drenched her once more. She agrees to kill one person in order to save the lives of 5 others. The guy reappears and drags her away. In the next scene, Mila's parents were seen telling her story to an investigating officer. Her mother told the officer that Mila became an English teacher 2 years ago. The person inquired about Mila's social media accounts and invites her father to accompany him to the flat so that they may search for any clues. It was Mila's 3rd day in the scary room. Another female is brought into the room by the masked man. The face of the other female is entirely covered. The man forces the other girl to take a seat in the chair. Mila is compelled to react and respond to the speaker's few questions. Mila and the other girl aren't responding to any of their questions. The loudspeaker voice instructed them both to respond and receive a reward. Mila wins the round by answering one. The other female, on the other hand, was killed by the masked man. He then cleaned the room because the floor was covered with blood. Mila's face was likewise cleansed, and he put the glasses on her head again. In her fourth day, the masked man enters the room once more. He brings the meal in, which has been locked in a handmade wooden gadget. The lady on the loudspeaker announces dinner time and gives her 1 minute to find the key. Mila discovered the key and began eating within the allotted time. However, once she had completed her meal, she announced that she couldn't find the key to the door. Mila responds that they have deceived her. The man began pulling her once again, but she kicked him and attempted to open the door. She opened the door successfully, but the masked man shocked her and she collapsed at the door. Mila's flat was fitted with a camera that the police could observe from his office. A handful of her neighbors were also interviewed by the officer. It is day 5. Mila is attempting to convince herself that it is all a dream and that she is sleeping. A coffin was brought into the room by the masked man. He tortured her and imprisoned her in a coffin. Mila is sobbing and attempting to open the coffin, but it is sealed. On the coffin, there was an opening. The loudspeaker lady announces that this coffin can hold one of 3 bodies, alive or dead. From that opening, the masked guy began stuffing rats inside the coffin. The loudspeaker lady announces that they will be hungry in a couple of hours, and Mila has to decide who is going to stay alive. Mila is hitting the coffin and screaming badly. The masked man enters the room and opens the coffin. He picked her up and made her sit on the chair with VR goggles. Mila said she can't see it anymore. The man pushed the coffin out of the room. It is day 6. Mila is sitting on the floor. Suddenly, she hears a ringing phone. She spotted a phone inside the doll. She called for help and couldn't tell them where she was. The phone's battery has gone. Mila began to cry and the room suddenly filled with smoke. The scene shifts and Mila opens her eyes and sees a naked man and a nude woman playing with their bodies. Suddenly, the woman grabs a knife and slits her throat, as the male continues to play with himself. Mila notices an open door and gradually enters another room. She sees a chanting lady and a boy eating something from a bowl. A rotten human hand is shown in the bowl. In the previous scene, both the woman and the boy were seen being investigated by the police officer. Mila reaches for a pot on the stove and removes the pot lid, revealing a girl's head in the process of being cooked. Mila is strapped onto an operating bed in a different room. A guy shaves her head and cuts a section of it open before injecting something into her brain. Then she started hallucinating some creepy and frightening visuals. The visuals became more horrifying and sleazy. The imaginary visuals end with her head exploding. It is day 10. Mila's condition is very bad. She was laying in one of the room's corners when a masked man walked in and lifted her up, forcing her to sit on the chair. Mila notices a man seated in front of her as she opens her eyes. She smacked the man with a hammer and dashed for the door. She made it out of the room in some way and eventually emerged from the strange area, began running, and collapsed on an unfamiliar road. A vehicle pulls up alongside her. They loaded her into their car and drove away. Mila left the car as it stopped. She has arrived at her apartment building. Mila is now in her apartment and taking a bath. The doorbell rings. She equipped herself with a knife. When the person entered, Mila killed him. She was unable to recognize him. The scene shifts to a person applying nail paint when he hears some noise. The person called the police. Later, Mila is in an asylum. The investigation officer was checking the recording of Mila's home and found out that she killed her father, the one who entered Mila's place when she was bathing. A doctor asked Mila's mother about her situation. The doctor also called Mila's mother about any surgery before Mila was kidnapped. The doctor added that they found some type of medical alteration in the occipital lobe of her daughter. That means Mila was unable to recognize her father. The doctor asks Mila's mother for consent so that they can perform an experiment on her. Mila is sitting with closed eyes in front of the doctor. The doctor asks Mila to explain the room around her. Mila told him that it is cold and empty. Mila started picturing her kidnapped situation. Her nose starts bleeding. In the next scene, the ambassador's wife is seen having a meal at an empty hotel. Later, the news of her kidnapping came out. Mila is seen in an asylum staring out a window. In the last scene, the ambassador's wife is now seen in the same room where Mila was kept. The loudspeaker lady welcomes her, the ambassador's wife, to recreation. She started crying and sobbing badly. The chat on the screen continues, and they are now watching a new target. And so the movie has come to an end. If you've got a passion for movies and everything about them, Mr. Recaps is your destination. Subscribe for more videos like this, hit the notification bell icon, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Peace.